Let's go right now to Washington Congressman Adam Smith, ranking member of the Armed Services Committee. Thank you, sir, for stepping out of the chamber and speaking with us. Give me a sense of what's going on right now. Are you able to make heads or tails of where things stand, given the 70-plus pages you all were handed an hour and change ago to go through to make sure this was a clean resolution?
Yeah, it's very chaotic, and it's chaotic because Speaker McCarthy was, he's trying to appease the MAGA extremists in his party, and he took us right up to the brink of letting them dictate the policy, and then apparently this morning he decided he was going to try to do something passingly sensible and try and keep the government open, and just sort of flung this out there. And we've been spending the last, I guess, hour and a half trying to figure out what is in that proposal. And so that's what we're going to be debating on right now. But, the chaos all comes down to the fact that McCarthy has decided to let Matt Gaetz run the Congress. Now, he may have changed his mind recently, and we're trying to figure out what that means exactly.
So are you worried he would have tried to slip something in there, that making a presumption, if he didn't give you enough time to read all 70-plus pages in detail, you would be voting on something you were unaware of?
Well, one of my favorite quotes is, never ascribe to conspiracy what you can put down to simple incompetence. Is it possible that you said no? I think it's just more a matter of the fact of the basic incompetence with which he and all of the Republicans have run the House since they took over. I think it is far more likely that they're doing this just because they aren't very good at their jobs. Now that we've looked at it, it does appear to be a clean CR. The only thing is, it does abandon Ukraine, which is no small issue when you look at what Vladimir Putin is doing to the Ukrainian people right now. I think it is important that we help them in their fight, and it appears that Speaker McCarthy, for the moment, is abandoning them. That's not insignificant, but other than that, the bill appears to be that the supplemental that the Senate put forward is putting forward as we speak. Sorry, supplemental and the continuing resolution.
Is it difficult for Democrats right now to consider supporting Speaker McCarthy, because essentially it's what you're going to have to do, throwing him a lifeline to continue his speakership, as opposed to not funding the federal government?
Well, that's a separate thing. What we're going to decide here in the next hour is, do we vote on this CR that will keep the government open past tonight's midnight deadline? And that's one thing to decide. The second thing will come if Matt Gaetz follows through on his threat, and there's no reason to believe that he won't. If he makes the motion to vacate the chair, then what do we do? And I will tell you, I have a very simple ask. If Speaker McCarthy gives us a vote on a supplemental for Ukraine, I would seriously consider keeping him as Speaker. Because, look, if the choice is between Kevin McCarthy sort of half-assed running the House or Matt Gaetz actually running the House, I choose the half-assed Kevin McCarthy version. It's not a good choice, I'll grant you that. And I'm hoping what everyone is learning watching this is having the Republicans in charge of the House is a disaster. And this is a point I want to make clear. You've got a lot of moderates out there like Mike Lawler who claim that they're upset with Gaetz. They are empowering him. They are empowering the chaos that Kevin McCarthy and the Republican Party has brought to this country. And if you vote for them, you are voting for that chaos. There is no such thing as a moderate Republican right now. So we're stuck in that chaotic world.
I appreciate you being there outside the chamber. I know you're going to be able to join us as we take a listen to the Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries right now. Let's see what he's talking about and getting a lot of applause from the Democrats.
Sure.
As some of my colleagues want to do, unleash weapons of war that are not used to hunt deer, they're used to hunt human beings and shred children. And so we worked in a bipartisan way to pass the Safer Communities Act, to make progress for the American people. And then we worked on the CHIPS and Science Act, that will bring domestic manufacturing jobs back home to the United States of America, as opposed to our jobs moving in the other direction. And to invest in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, to ensure that our young people have the skills to succeed in the 21st century economy and are competitive to continue to elevate American exceptionalism. That was done in a bipartisan way. Now, there were some areas where our Republican colleagues refused to do what was right, in our view, for the American people. And that's why, in some instances, we needed to just act, to put people over politics. People over politics. And so that's what we did with the American Rescue Plan and the Inflation Reduction Act. But our bipartisan track record continues. We stood up for the men and women who have served this country and who are exposed to burn pits or toxic substances or Agent Orange. And through the PACT Act, under the leadership of Speaker Pelosi and Chairman Mark Takano, we stood up for our veterans to ensure that millions of them would get the health care that they deserve. And we got the PACT Act over the finish line. Once again, it was bipartisan in nature. We understood that there were grave threats to our democracy because of what occurred with the former President of the United States
Congressman
of America.
Smith, as we listen to Hakeem Jeffries, he seems to be going through a list of accomplishments by Democrats, which certainly, sir, you're going to be very familiar with. So let me ask you this question. If there is a shutdown, for how long could that last, given the divide? How long could it last, and where could negotiations even go if that were to happen?
Well, I think that has shifted. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a really interesting vote right now because you're going to have a lot of Republicans who don't, the Republicans don't want to vote to fund the government under any particular circumstances. So we're going to lose a lot of Republicans on this vote. There's a lot of other Democrats who are concerned about the fact that this, doesn't support Ukraine, that it's not a clean process. Add all that up, nobody's got a whip count on this one. If I had to bet, I would bet that we will pass this CR and that eventually the Senate will get there. And if we shut down at all, it will be, for half a day, however long it takes to work out the differences between the House and the Senate. The larger question is what happens going forward. I mean, this only buys 45 days. What's going to happen 45 days from now? The normal process here is to have the House, the Senate, and the White House talking about what the appropriations bill should be. And this is why what President Biden said is so important. We cut this deal 6-7 months ago now. Speaker McCarthy, the House Republicans, they agreed to top-line numbers for the appropriations bills, and then they went back on the deal. They went back on the deal, and now they just want to cut. Yesterday, they wanted to cut everything 30%. So they don't even know exactly how much they want to cut it. They're unwilling to negotiate over the appropriations bills. So it may buy us some time, but we'll still be in chaos between now and the end of the year.